Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here today, and I apologize for my late arrival. I started my morning today in Newfoundland, but it's great to be back in central Canada. The weather's even colder there than it is here. So, hey, Bob. Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I'm joined today by Anna Roberts, Member of Parliament from Vaughan.
King Vaughan.
And of course, I have my deputy leader here, Melissa Lansman, Member of Parliament for Thornhill. And I'm delighted to join with you again to talk about issues of mutual concern. You know, as I travel across this country, the one thing that is in common among everyone I meet is that people feel like they're losing control of their lives. They feel like everything's broken after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Start with the cost of living. It's rising faster than at any time in 40 years. We have 1.5 million people eating at a food bank in a given month. Some people have gone to the Mississauga food bank asking for help with medical assistance in dying, not because they're sick, but because they're so hungry and miserable in Justin Trudeau's economy. Here in the GTA, it's still about $1 million for the average home. And with skyrocketing interest rates, the mortgage payments are unattainable for the average person. In fact, after 8 years of Trudeau, both the average rent and the average mortgage payment have doubled. So it used to be you could rent the average home in Canada's two biggest cities. The average apartment, was about $950 a month. Hard to believe, eh? Now it's over $2,000. The average mortgage payment 8 years ago was $1,400. Now it's $3,200. That's just for the average place across Canada, not in the GTA where it's much worse. This means that 9 in 10 young people who don't yet own a home believe they never will. And this is the mathematics of hopelessness. I was speaking to a young lady from Toronto who works as a CATSA screener at the Pearson Airport, and she took me through the numbers. She said if she scrimps and saves, she can set aside $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. If she wants to own a modest townhouse in Toronto, it's about 850 grand. So she's going to need at least 60 grand for a down payment. That means she has to save for 10 years. And that assumes that prices don't go up any more than they are right now. She's 27 years old. So she's saying that if she's lucky, she might be able to get her own home by the time she's 37. By that time, it might be too late to have kids. So how does she start a family? How does she build net equity? How does she get credit history to eventually get a small business loan and start her economic life? She's trapped, as so many young people are after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. This has led to hopelessness and homelessness. Homeless encampments are forming in cities like Toronto, Peterborough, Vancouver. People literally camping in the streets where they're using fentanyl and heroin and other deadly drugs, which Justin Trudeau and the NDP want to legalize and even pay for and provide with your tax dollars.
That's right.
The 30,000 people have died of drug overdoses since Trudeau became Prime Minister. And violent crime is up 32% after the broken Liberal bail system came in. The same criminals do the same crimes over and over again, often in the same day. In Vancouver, the same 40 offenders were arrested 6,000 times in a year. 40 offenders, 6,000 arrests. That's 150 arrests per offender per year. Imagine if you kept those 40 people behind bars rather than immediately releasing them on bail. You might have 6,000 fewer crimes. But the broken Liberal bail system of Justin Trudeau has led to crime waves in cities right across our country after 8 years of his government. So what are the solutions to these problems? First of all, we need to tackle Trudeau's inflation. We need to control spending. Spending has increased by 60% under Trudeau. He's added $500 billion of debt, doubled more. He's added more debt than all prime ministers combined. Poilievre government will bring in the dollar for dollar law. Every time the government brings in a new dollar of spending, they must find a dollar of savings to pay for it. I'll cut back on the high-priced consultants. Today we learned that the Trudeau government is spending $21 billion on high-priced consultants. That is $1,400 for every household in Canada, just for federal government consultants. We have to slash that back. We have to get rid of wasteful spending like the ArriveCan app, which is a $54 million catastrophe, and instead find savings so that we can lower the deficit, the inflation, and the tax burden. We're going to get rid of the carbon tax. Trudeau and the NDP want to triple the carbon tax on your gas, heat, and groceries. That means more expenses for families that they cannot afford. Heating your home in Canada and driving to work is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And that's why a Poilievre government will axe the carbon tax to make life more affordable for our people. And we're going to make work pay again. It doesn't pay to work in Canada these days. I spoke to a waitress in Etobicoke. She said she got a second job so she could bring her gross pay from 45 grand to 60 grand. But then when they clawed back her child benefit and other benefits, and then she paid more income tax, more payroll tax, more gas tax to get to work, she said she's no better off. It's one thing to earn 15 grand more, but if you don't bring it home, what's the benefit? It's just more hours of work for nothing. We wonder why we have a shortage of workers. When you punish work, you get less work. A Poilievre government will cut and reform our income tax so that people bring home more of each dollar they earn, and hard work once again pays off in this country.
Very good.
Those paychecks too. And so a Poilievre government is going to link I got a 4-point plan on this. We're going to link the number of dollars that big cities get for infrastructure to the number of houses they allow to be completed. The problem in Canada, the reason we have the fewest houses per capita in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on, is because big city gatekeepers prevent construction. It takes a very long time to get a building permit in Canada. And so builders can't build. So I will link infrastructure dollars for big city politicians to the number of houses that get complete. 2, I will require every federally funded transit station be pre-approved for high-density housing right around the station so young people don't even have to own a car or a vehicle. I'm going to sell off 15% of the 37,000 federal buildings to convert them into affordable housing. And I also sell off other brownfield federal government lands that are not being used for anything so they can be converted into housing for our young people. And finally, we're going to honor the trades, the builders in this country. We're going to speed up immigration for the tradespeople who know how to build homes, carpenters, framers, and every electricians, plumbers, every other trade that's necessary to build homes. We're going to have a special expedited stream to bring those people in and build faster. And we're going to allow traveling tradespeople to write off the cost of their travel. It's crazy that CEOs can write off the cost of their first-class plane tickets when they're traveling around to conferences and meetings, but the tradespeople who move around from a job in Toronto to a job in Timmins or in Western Canada cannot write off their travel. So we're going to bring in tax fairness for traveling tradespeople. That's how we'll get more homes built. And we're going to unleash the power of our economy by bringing home the production of our energy resources and our other resources in this country. Repealing anti-energy laws will mean we produce more of the oil and gas, but also the minerals of electrification right here in Canada. Rather than sending our money overseas to foreign dirty dictatorships, we will bring more home here to Canada. And finally, we'll bring home safety and hope to our people. We're going to get rid of Trudeau's broken bail system, require repeat violent offenders who have a long track record of harming fellow citizens. When they are charged, they'll stay in prison until their trial, and if they are convicted, they will stay in jail until their sentence is complete, so that we can restore safety. And finally, instead of giving people free drugs and legalizing crack, heroin, and fentanyl like Justin Trudeau proposes, we're going to provide real recovery and treatment for people with more beds for detox, counseling, life skills to get people back out on the street, back out into their lives in a drug-free life. And I'm going to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies that caused this crisis by lying to our medical system and getting these drugs overprescribed, I'm going to make sure that those companies pay the price. I will sue them the same way that we sued the tobacco companies for the cost to our healthcare system 25 years ago. A poilievre government will sue the big pharmaceutical companies and get hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in awards that we can use to fund the drug treatment to save our brothers, sisters, friends, and neighbors. In other words, we're going to replace the hurt that Trudeau has caused with the hope that people need. I'm running for Prime Minister to put people back in charge of their lives by making Canada the freest country on earth. Now, let's bring it home. Everything they can. I feel badly for the police. What's happening is that Trudeau has brought in a broken Liberal bail system, and it requires that the judges release repeat violent offenders on bail the same day they're arrested. It's the catch and release system. And so police in Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver will tell you. I met a guy was it yesterday? Yesterday in Newfoundland, same thing. They arrest sometimes the same people 3 times in a day. They arrest them in the morning, they get out on bail. At noon, they go commit another crime, they get arrested again. The judge puts them out on bail. And around dinner time, what do you know? Same guy, same crime, same neighborhood, back in jail. And my view is that bail should be a privilege for those people who are not a risk to reoffend or a danger to society. That's why we have bail. But if someone has already committed 50 or 60 violent offenses and they're newly arrested for another one, then they should stay behind bars until their trial is done. And they should only be released when their sentence is completed, if they're convicted. And that would dramatically reduce crime. The good news is this: we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. You would think by looking around you that there's criminals everywhere. It's a very small number of people that are doing almost all of the crime. It's not the young guy who makes one mistake when he's 19. It's the career criminal that does 50, 60, 70 offenses. The attack on the Indigenous people in Saskatchewan 4 months ago was done by 2 gentlemen who already had 60 violent offenses on their rap sheet. The police killings have been done by multiple offender criminals out on bail. As I said earlier, in Vancouver, the same 40 offenders were arrested 6,000 times in a year. 40 people, 6,000 arrests in 1 year, 150 arrests per person per year. That's on average an arrest almost every second day. So you take those 40 people off the streets and then put them in jail, then 6,000 people would be spared victimhood. All of this rests with Justin Trudeau. We didn't have a crime problem before him. Crime is up 32% since he took office. Gang killings have doubled under Trudeau. He's the problem, and so is his broken bail system. We will replace him with a common sense bail and criminal justice system that keeps repeat violent career criminals behind bars until they're rehabilitated and can be safely released. Thank you. Previous Conservative governments, we've had among the highest sustained levels of per capita immigration of any country on planet Earth. We have the space. We're the second biggest country on earth. And our immigration system in Canada has been probably the best in the world. The problem is that Justin Trudeau is so incompetent that he is turning the system upside down. He has created a permanent flow of illegal border crossings at Roxham Road that reached a peak of 40,000 people last year. And the first month of this year, January, the monthly rate is even higher than last year. So the problem is worsening after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. This is a problem we never had before Trudeau. Roxham Road did not have large-scale border crossings before him. And then he has created a backlog. 2.2 million people waiting, 1.1 million waiting beyond the acceptable time frame, 76,000 refugees who are holding on to their lives by a thread, all waiting. And countless businesses. I'm sure that many of your readers and listeners run businesses that need temporary foreign workers, but what do? They wait. So what we need to do is close Roxham Road and use the savings to get rid of the backlog in immigration and in processing workers to come to Canada. We also need to make, as you said, the country ready for them when they arrive. In Canada, we have the fewest houses per capita in the G7. We need probably 2 million houses just for the people who are here already. All those people that you know that are living in their parents' basements, that are 26, 27 years old, that are trying to get a house. We need probably 2 million houses just for them. And then we're going to need millions more for the newcomers. And the reason we don't have them is because it's impossible to get anything built in this country. It is one of the slowest. We're ranked 64th on planet Earth for the time it takes to get a building permit. But we have all this land and all these people who want to build, but they're sitting around waiting for a permit. A Poilievre government is going to say to the cities and the provinces, if you want infrastructure money, you have to speed up building permits. Finally, our hospital system is bursting at the seams after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. We have tens of thousands of immigrant doctors and nurses that are banned from working in their profession. And in fact, Stats Canada said a month ago that only 37% of foreign-trained nurses and 41% of foreign-trained doctors are allowed to practice because medical licensing bodies won't allow them to, even when they're qualified. A Poilievre government will sign deals with the provinces to get a 60-day deal. Within 60 days of an immigrant applying to work in their profession, they should get a yes or no based on their tested abilities, not based on where they come from. We should back up 30,000 small study loans for immigrants who need to leave their job to study up to the Canadian standards so that they can get licensed to practice in their field. 3, we need to create a system that already exists for dentistry, but we need to create it in other professions that allows immigrants who are coming in the future to begin getting their license before they even arrive. So they could be in Mumbai or they could be in Beirut, but they could begin working on getting a license, so right when they arrive, they go straight to work. That way we can use immigration as a solution to our healthcare problem. And, but none of this is happening now. So a Poilievre government is going to make it happen, get the gatekeepers out of the way, build more homes, get more doctors and nurses, and let's support lawful immigration to our country.